The Raptors claw back for a huge overtime win against the New York Knicks, 123-121. Welcome to Raptors Tonight, and most importantly, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm Randy Urban, joined by Leo Rautins, Sherman Hamilton, and Jack Armstrong. Guys, what a game. You know, it was just crazy. The emotions were up and down through this one. Sherman, what stood out to you about how the Raptors battled in that fourth quarter and overtime?
It's just, we've seen it so many times, you know, where the Raptors have had to make a run late in the game, and it's good to see them get over the hump. It took overtime, but they're a resilient group. You know, they never quit on games, and that's something that they pride themselves in. And against a team like the Knicks that, you know, if you hit them properly, things don't go their way, they'll allow you to get back into the game. They'll allow you to walk by them and get a W. So I just thought we saw the difference between a team that is engaged in many of those kind of battles and never quit against a team that has gotten those battles and hasn't been as good as the Raptors have in those situations. But some clutch performances in the fourth quarter and overtime by Scotty Barnes and Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby with some major three-point shots in overtime. It was a great collective effort by this team. So it was a real special, I think, confidence-building game to start this stretch of 10 of 12 on the road.
Jack, I love how you're directing traffic, so I'll let you do that while I talk to Leo here.
No, I got three more Brooklyn guys that just showed up, so they're good.
I love it. I love it. Leo, what were you feeling during that fourth quarter and overtime? You know, the Raptors got down by 10 points, I think it was, in that fourth, and they just really showed some resiliency there.
Well, like Sherm said, I mean, that's kind of what we're used to seeing, and we haven't always seen it this season, right? So it's been a little bit of a struggle. So that's what we expect them to do. Even when they're not playing well, when they're struggling or other teams rolling, they hang in there, find a way, and get back into the game, and that's what they did. And I think what impressed me, I thought this was a real team win. Different guys at different times. Sure mentioned OG. I mean, OG wasn't a big factor for a good part of that game, but you know when it counted, he made some big shots. Pascal did some more work early, helped out down stretch. Fred was in and out during the course of the game. You know, obviously Scotty played huge down the stretch. So, you know, I thought it was a good team victory, you know, on the road. And everybody's talking about what an important stretch this is, you know, next 10 to 12 on the road. So to start out with this, I think is really important.
Mm-hmm. And Jack, just from your perspective, you were there in Madison Square Garden. What was the atmosphere like when it was back and forth like that?
It was a heck of a game, as Sherman Leo said. I mean, the atmosphere was phenomenal. After the Raptors, it was kind of a clunker the other night against Atlanta. And I tell you what, they showed a lot of fight. I'm really happy for Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet, because those guys had a tough night the other night. And both of them showed just such grit and toughness. I mean, Fred VanVleet was questionable to play today, and he came over before the game and said, "Hey, man, I'm going." You know, and he was ready to ball. I tell you what, the individual defense down the stretch, like Siakam moving his feet, and like Anunoby, and the physicality. I mean, it was really physical on the glass. Scotty Barnes played with incredible poise and toughness. You know, and he played with a lot of grit today. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, he had some amazing passes as well to find people. So it was a really tremendous road win. Here's one last thing. Here's the interesting thing about the Knicks. They're 6 games over 500 on the road, and yet they're under 500 at home, which is really weird because this is a tough place to play. But I was chatting with Leon Rose, their president, before the game, and as you guys know, a lot of times people get up for these games in the Garden against the Knicks. And I think the Raptors, man, they were ready to play today again.
Well, you saw that from Scotty, right, Sherm? Right? He was enticing the crowd. He wanted all the smoke, raising their arms. What did you think of that? I'm always like, careful, buddy. You don't want to wake the gods, the basketball gods.
Well, if they had anybody on the Knicks that he was poking as well, that would have been an issue. But I didn't think anybody on the Knicks. RJ Barrett had a pretty aggressive offensive game, started out slow, but Jalen Brunson wasn't doing anything he wanted against him. As Jack mentioned, the individual defense was solid on Julius Randle as well. So I thought they were confident defensively, and Scotty was extremely confident. I'm surprised that the Knicks didn't switch the matchup on him because he physically was too big and too strong for RJ Barrett. And every time a shot went up, he just used his size and his strength. He went after it on the glass, or if he got it on the block on RJ, it was lights out. RJ was just too small. So Scotty's confidence throughout the game continued to grow, and he continued to be a great playmaker. And when they run that Horns offense with Scotty on the free throw line and Fred on the other free throw line, they get a lot of good stuff out of that with Pascal having the ball at the top. So Scotty's involvement on so many levels was crucial in this game. He made a phenomenal cross-court pass in overtime.
Oh, that was
the back
crazy.
screen being set for
Yeah.
OG, and it was that kind of vision is special vision.
Yeah, and Leo he just showed so much poise out there, you know, and he's putting together a really nice stretch.
Yeah, he really is. And, you know, not just poise, but he showed me a guy that really wanted the ball. I mean, he hunted down the ball on a few of those rebounds. And what's impressive is, you know, when you see him in traffic, you know, a whole bunch of hands in there, once he gets his hands on it, it's his. You know, he's taking that ball. And then the best thing is he knows what to do with it once he gets it. And, you know, I've said this on the air that, you know, I put him in the top 10 in the league as far as, you know, being able to play in the post, back to the basket, score on people. You know, he's got a unique talent and skill doing that. And it's a great feel. And his strength is imposing. You're not just getting to the ball or getting by people or going up and over people, you know, easily. That's strength. And he really does a great job of using his quickness once he's inside there as well. So between his body getting into you and his quickness going over you, he's a tough matchup. So I love the way he's playing. And, you know, credit Nick Nurse, right? He made some adjustments that it's pretty simple. If teams are just going to get back off you, put whoever's guarding you in pick and rolls, right? Force them to defend. They're either going to defend you or the screener. So, you know, whatever the situation is, you want to make sure that, you know, you're always, you keep Scotty involved in the game in every possible way you can. And that way his defender just can't slack off.
I just want to tag what Sherman Leo said. I can't say any more about Scotty Barnes because they nailed it. The one thing I'll just say is that he's playing with a lot more like dog in him now. You know, like he's playing with a lot more force and toughness. And, you know, to me, I think if he gets to a point where that becomes a little more habitual, like Randy, you mentioned that he played to the crowd a little bit. You know what? I'm okay with that because he's like, bring it on. Like, I want to see that a little bit more. You know, sometimes you come out there and you want to just let your talent and you kind of groove through things a little bit. I like what he's doing now. And you know, schematically, strategically, whatever way you want to say it, and Sherman Leo nailed it. And all those good things are happening because he's got tons of talent and they're putting him in great spots. But it's that other thing that you got to have too. And he's showing that now. That's exciting.
All those Subway sandwiches, man.
RJ Barrett Sherman was great too. And he made a heck of a play, grabbing that rebound and taking it all the way down for the dunk. I think, you know, they didn't do a good job cutting off his left hand, right? Leo, I'm sure you're like, cut off his left hand. But, you know, I think they're probably worried about the three.
Whole game I was screaming that.
Right. So what'd you think of that?
You got to take that away.
Yeah.
But again, now Scotty missed the second free throw on that play. And Scotty ended up picking up RJ in transition on that play. And those are the moments where, you know, a young player reverts to being a young player. You forget the scouting report, you allow RJ to get to his left hand, and before you know it, RJ is on top of the rim, putting everybody in the rim. So as Scotty he's developing into such a great basketball player. And then there's moments like that where you can see where he's got to grow, recognizing that moment to make the right decision there. And just credit RJ. He got to his strong hand and he finished with force around the basket. But that could have easily been different if Scotty had jumped to his left hand and made sure RJ had to go right, because RJ really is a different player when that ball's in his right hand and he's trying to make a move to attack the basket.
Yeah, and you're seeing more minutes, Leo, from Precious Achiuwa, 8 points, 8 rebounds. I feel like this is a guy that can get you 7 to 10 rebounds every night he steps on the floor. Do you feel that way?
Hey, we saw it last year, end of last season. And if Raptors get him back to that level, and he's slowly getting there, it's going to make a big difference for this team. There were a couple of times I thought that, he passed up a couple of three-point shots that I think were great looks for him. And again, that's just getting comfortable, getting back into the groove. But he's a guy that can give you, a double-double when he gets out there. If he plays aggressive defensively and gets after the ball on the glass, and offensively just take what the defense gives you. Drive when you got the drive, take the three when you got the three.
Jack, I really think this win can galvanize the team. For some reason, it feels different, I guess, because it was in New York and it was overtime. It was just so dramatic. Did you notice anything about their togetherness while working the game tonight?
The both games I've done here when the Raptors have played the Knicks has been great togetherness. And there's really good spirit on this team. Obviously every team has their issues when you're losing, and you have to work through that. I mean, it's any sport. But nonetheless, I don't see any quit in this team. I don't see any breakdown in morale. I think there's a lot of fight and a lot of spirit here. So it's a good thing. Now, as we all know, momentum in the NBA a lot of times doesn't go from day to day. It's in the moment. You hope you have it. But to me, I feel fine about their spirit and their togetherness, and they're pulling for each other. I think they're trying to play together. They're trying to move the ball. And I agree with what you guys are saying about Precious Achiuwa. I mean, he makes them a different team. And, the bench numbers weren't overwhelming today, but nonetheless, they came in and held their own and battled. Boucher once again battled. Nick Nurse went with a little bit of a shorter bench. Obviously got a back-to-back tomorrow night in Milwaukee, but you worry about that tomorrow. This is a great win for them, particularly after a clunker against Atlanta. They kind of needed something like this, starting a stretch of 10 of the next 12 on the road. And so I don't know what momentum will mean as we go forward, but nonetheless, I think it's something as a coaching staff you can always point back to and say, hey, I'm going to show you 7, 8, 9 clips from the game we won at New York to say, this is our standard. This is who we are. This is Raptor basketball. Let's try to get there today, guys. And those are always the things you're trying to sell. At this level, you're a salesman.
Last question, Sherm. We got to talk about Fred because he was just outstanding. I know he had that miscue down the stretch where he made the foul, but 33 points, 8 assists. This is now 3 games in a row against the Knicks where he's just been outstanding. And he needed this one tonight because of the game he had the last one. This one felt good.
Yeah, and Fred is a guy who I've never worried about in terms of the next situation for him,
right?
Because he doesn't let things sit on him. He won't react to the pass. He'll move forward with confidence. So to see him play the way he did, he made a big 3 in the last 2 minutes of regulation, and he made a nice jump shot too at the free throw line. So Fred is a big-time player when his team needs him to be there. So I just think that we should be used to it. Yeah, he's going to have those off games. He's going to have a game like he had against Atlanta. But in a game like this, where it's on the line and he has a ball in his hands, I'm very confident something positive is going to happen. And he played an outstanding game today. I mean, playing through that back stuff, it's not a joke. That's the core of your body, and he's battled through it, and he's been able to do this. So I tip my hat to him, and hopefully he can try to maintain that back throughout this stretch of the next 12 games, because they're going to need every part of Fred VanVleet to come out in a decent situation or a winning situation on this next stretch.
And I'm very positive that Jack's going to have fun tonight. I'm excited for you, Jack. I wish I –
Literally, I got to tell you, I'm standing in the lobby of an Irish pub right across the street from Madison Square Garden.
I love it.
And I got about 12 buddies in there, and they're all enjoying themselves. And I'm out here working. I haven't even had my first beer yet, but I can guarantee you in about 30 seconds, I'm going to have one to celebrate you guys and the Raptor win. So all the best.
I appreciate it, Jack. All right, next game for the Raptors, Tuesday on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks. Tip-off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And after the game, be sure to catch Raptors Tonight on YouTube and NBA TV Canada. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.